Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. So my name's Katie and today we're going to be talking about top 10 characters of 2020. So these are like the standout book characters for me from 2020. I've got my little Christmas jumper on in the festive spirit and yeah, so it looks like I've got no top on, but I promise I do. We're just gonna get started. So these are characters like that I've either discovered in 2020 or have kind of become a new favourite in 2020 or just that kind of thing. So yeah, let's just get started because I love characters. I'm such a character focused reader, and if there's a character I love, then I will love the book. And yeah, and you will notice on this list I have a very clear type and that is MILFs. So there are several but you know, we're just have to roll with it. So yeah. So the first two characters on the list are from Rhythm of War, because this is like my favourite book of the year and of all time, and I just love it. So yes. So the first one is Raboniel, and she is a new character that we meet in Rhythm of War. And she is a fascinating character. So she has so many kind of layers, and you're so unclear on her motivations and what she kind of wants, what her goals are. And also kind of her attitudes towards the other characters. And at first you think she's an antagonist, and she is almost kind of like the antagonist of the book, but she's also kind of working towards quite a similar cause. And her kind of, I don't know if friendship is the right word with Navani, is so fascinating. And also she has such a kind of tragic past, because with her kind of daughter and her she's kind of very an old immortal soul that's sort of tortured and that kind of thing. And just the kind of watching her journey and just finding out more about her, and she's like a thirst trap for sapphics. We have this little cult following on Twitter. No, but she's great. And also the relationship between her and Navani is there's so much unintentional sapphic energy there, and I wish it was canon, but alas it is not. But just some of the lines, the like us and and if you're not a scholar Navani, then I don't know what one is. Just some of the things Raboniel says is just yeah. So she's an amazing character, and she's just this thirst trap as well, and she's just, I love her. And also her kind of story, yeah, is so heartbreaking as well. So yeah. And then also Kaladin. I mean, Kaladin is my favourite character, fictional character ever, probably. I love him so much. And reading this book just reminded me of how much I love Kaladin. Kaladin was always my favourite when I read them. But then I feel when you kind of on the internet and stuff, then you sort of, other characters sort of become Adolin. I love Adolin, but also I feel Kaladin, if I had to pick one, in terms of favourite characters, it would be Kaladin. And it just reminded me how much I love him, and how much a precious character he is, and how much I want the best for him, and just his struggles, and his kind of, how we sort of, his depression really sort of gets him down, and obviously, but it really affects him, and it's kind of this ominous presence, but he sort of, he kind of pushes through, even when you feel he's given up completely. He just has that kind of tiny smidgen of hope, and it just shows that you should kind of never give up, and just keep going. Sometimes time is the only cure, and just his kind of journey in this book of and when he sort of becomes a healer, and his whole thing was starting mental health up on Rashar. And yeah, just his journey, and where his character's going, I love. And yeah, I just, every time I think about him I start crying. I just love Kaladin so much. He's such a great character. Yeah. Okay, so enough about Rhythm of War. So next is Misaki from Sword of Kaigen. So Misaki is probably one of the best female characters of all time, just best any character of all time. She's so interesting, she's so oriented, she has so much inner strength, but also so much kind of struggle, and sort of watching her become and regrets of the past. I feel She Used to Be Mine from Waitress is such a good song for Misaki, but it just, yeah. So she's also kind of, so she has a lot of, not regrets about the past exactly, but she's almost kind of not living in the past, but she's sort of wishing she was like she used to be, and she's not realizing kind of what she has at the moment, but also kind of what she has at the moment isn't the best kind of situation, because Takeri is a bit of a dick. but so that's her husband, but she has these sons, but she feels like she can't quite love them properly because of these kind of things from the past, and just kind of watching her like emotional growth throughout the book, and just her relationship with her different kind of sons, like with Momori, but then also I can't remember. Yeah, no, I think it's Momori. And like when they're talking at the sunset. Oh, and also her relationship with Takeri. That scene. I can't. Is it like the jewel or something? Oh, she's just, yeah, she's an amazing character, and sort of Kaigen is a great book also. But just Masaki is just the kind of inner strength and inner resilience, and the kind of stuff she's been through and stuff she's going through, and the kind of the sort of tragedy of her life, but also the sort of joy of her life as well. It's just so interesting, and yeah, just everything is so good. Just, yeah. I'm so bad at articulating my thoughts. Okay, so the next we have Bryn, who's a character from Legends of the First Empire, and so the first book is Age of Myth. Bryn, I think she is in all the books, but I would say she was more of a main character in the later 3 books, because it's almost split into 2 trilogies. It's like a 6-book series, but it's split kind of into 2. And especially in the later books, Bryn is just such a great character. So she's kind of, I guess, a bit self-inserted to me, because she's a very like bookish character, and she sort of has like, I don't know what the right term is. She has this yeah, she's like the keeper of the stories, but she also has she's so kind of, she's not shy, but she's like quite a quiet character, but she has so much kind of, like I was saying with Masaki, like so much inner strength and just so many ideas, and she sort of really wants what's right, and but she's also like very sweet and stuff, and she's such a great character to read about, and like watching her grow up throughout the books, because at the start she has like her mother and her she's kind of like just a daughter character, but then as she grows, and you sort of watch her grow and watch her become like into this beautiful young woman, and just, yeah, it's really great, and like the kind of strength that she has, and especially in the last book, the sort of action she takes, and the kind of, yeah, she's like just the definition of a hero, and not a hero in the sense of like the kind of sword wielding type typical fantasy hero you think of, but she's very much a character that like uses her intelligence and uses her kind of cunning, and the way she like do anything for kind of the people she loves, and like and so she has a relationship with Tesh, who is in my Hibbo video. I love Tesh, but and Tesh and Bryn, their relationship is so good, but the way she kind of will go to like rescue Tesh, but also she kind of very much stands up for herself. So like when Tesh is doing something stupid or does something kind of, I can't quite remember exactly the situation, but Bryn says to Tesh, like, if you can't do this, then I don't want to be with you, and I feel like that just takes a lot of strength, and that's another thing I really love about her character. So she's not just like blindly loyal like other characters we could talk about. Yeah, so I really love her. So then the next 2 characters, because I had to choose 2 because I couldn't pick one, because you'll see when I talk about the book. Okay, and that is Empire of Gold. So the first character I'm going to talk about is Nari. So Nari is a great character. She's a great protagonist. She just has all the things I love. She's a healer character, which I love healer characters. They're like some of my favourite characters. I always love them, just for like the personal connection, and also just the kind of the healer spirit, I feel like is kind of a thing, just that kind of wanting to help people and do that, and I think that's a huge like part of Nari's character. But then also just her kind of journey and her like political cunning, and like especially, although I am talking about characters from this year, but in the other 2 books, like in Kingdom of Copper and stuff, the stuff she with Gasson and how she kind of navigates that, and also with Mintadia, and just like the way she kind of does what's right for her people rather than what's right for herself, and she's very much a selfless character, and also just the kind of things she does, and I think in Empire of Gold, just like highlights of her relationship with like Jamshid, and the kind of the way that develops, and just she's just she's a great character. It's really hard to describe characters, I feel like. And just her journey, especially towards the end. I think it's the second to last chapter in Empire of Gold, made me so cry so much. The kind of where we get Nori's almost like backstory. And then the other character is Meniza, and she is kind of, so she may technically be the villain of the series, but that doesn't stop me loving her, because she's another one who's just this kind of tragic villain, and she has this story which is, you can see how she comes to be who she is and what's kind of made her into this sort of villain character. Although I do think, because I'm a Meniza apologist clearly, but I think Gaston is almost the worst character, and especially in the prologue of Empire of Gold, and when you see what happened to her, but then also Meniza is quite clearly unhinged and evil, and what you find out towards the end of Empire of Gold as well is shocking, but it's also really like juicy, and yeah, so Meniza, she has this kind of tragic story, and also in Empire of Gold, it's a bit of a descent of a villain arc, so you see things happen, and you see how that affects her, and how that starts to kind of make her a bit like Azula, make her lose kind of all her like resilient, I guess not resilient, but in psychiatry it would be called protective factors. So she sort of loses them, and she sort of becomes this like unhinged kind of, yeah, and then towards the end, when she's kind of confronting Nari and Jamshid, and the kind of the way she goes about that, you do feel for her, even though she's kind of this villain, and I just think she's such a well-written villain and such a interesting character, and I feel like we need a Meniza spin-off, like her sort of origin story. Yeah, so okay, the next we have Gideon from Gideon the Ninth, and to be fair, I also love Harrow, and I also love the Anthe, but we're going to talk about Gideon, because she's just such a joy to follow. She's such a funny character. She some of the things she comes out with is so funny. She's just, yeah, the kind of banter she has with the other characters, and just her whole personality is just so great. She's so, yeah, entertaining, and in Harrow, which is the second book, the kind of things she does towards the end of the book, just she's just this great character. I feel like it's really hard to talk about, but I just love her, and yeah, just everything. Her interactions with like literally anyone are so good, and just this kind of, you're watching her almost trying to learn and kind of learn about the world as a whole, because she's, in a way, she is quite sheltered, because she's been brought up with this ninth house, and she kind of only knows that. So but she's been wanting to escape, but in this book you're watching her kind of broaden her horizons, but also her trying to deal with Harrow, Harrow's pretty insane, but on the outside she doesn't kind of seem that way, but Gideon, I think, gets it, and she's kind of trying to manage Harrow in a way, but Harry's also trying to manage Gideon, because Gideon's quite like chaotic, and so just the dynamic is so good, and I just love it. So yeah, but also Gideon's kind of, her sense of humor is quite like immature, but I love it. I didn't appreciate it as much the first time I read it, but like on reread, it just fits her characters so well, and kind of the crude like things, and yeah, she is so good. So yeah, I love Gideon. Okay, so the next we have Avasarala from the Expanse series, and I love Avasarala. She's like iconic, and she steals like every book she's in. So I think she has a POV in Caliban's War, which is the second one. Then like in the fourth book, she's literally only in the epilogue, but she like steals the whole book. And in the fifth book, Nemesis Games, and just her interactions with Amos are so great. But yeah, so she's kind of this like deputy undersecretary or something of the UN, which is kind of the ruling body of Earth and the world, and but she's such a force of nature, and her character, she's so kind of strong, and she has such like a foul mouth, like literally every other word is a swear, and she's so like is brunt the right word, brusque, I don't know, but she just like says things how they are, and she just will roast like anyone. She's so great. Just the kind of the way she talks to the other characters is so funny, and she's just this like powerful woman who really like does not let kind of society's expectations of women, although it is a slightly different world, so I guess, but kind of reading it from our like world perspective, she has this kind of, she's so like self-assured, and she knows like her kind of purpose, I guess. I don't know if that's the right word, but like she's just so kind of, yeah, she's such a great character. Like every line she says is iconic. Yeah, I read The Expanse just for Avasarala. She's amazing. I feel like she's not, I really like her in the TV show, but she's just not quite as good as book Avasarala. Okay, so then next we have two more characters, because I couldn't pick one, and that is Shay and Wen from Jade City and Jade War. So they're the two kind of female characters. So Shay's like the sister of Lan, who's like the head of the clan. So we're following the No Peak clan, who are like one of the sort of almost ruling like gangs of the city where it's set, and they kind of control the jade trade. And jade's like this hot commodity, and it gives people powers. I'm gonna do this up. So yeah, and so Shay is the sister, and she's at the start of the book, she's kind of been like almost estranged from the rest of her family. So she's been in this other kind of country, and she's coming back into the family, and she's an amazing character. And just her kind of journey and how she's sort of, it influences the kind of clan, and like in a more subtle way, I think. And I don't really want to, there's kind of a big spoiler that I'm trying to like avoid talking about, but the way she sort of shapes Hilo, and her relationship with Hilo as well, is so interesting, and they're very like at odds at the start, but then as they grow and become this like power sibling team, and yeah, and just her kind of using her like wiles, and just this kind of, and also her kind of struggle with like fitting back into the country that she's coming back to. Yeah, and then also Wen, who's Hilo's wife, and I love Wen. She's such like an underdog character that you just root for so hard, and especially in Jade War, she like really comes into her own, and she's such a fantastic character. She's quite like I don't think subtle is the right word, but like an understated character, but the kind of power she has almost, and the power she takes for herself, and like what she makes for herself, and she becomes this almost like spy type character, and it's just so great. And Hilo's obviously, he's quite like, oh, women can't do anything, but then Wen sort of goes sort of behind his back and does things for the clan which are really helpful, and in her and Shay like like witchy meeting, I think is a really interesting sort of dynamic, and I just love them both. Yeah, so that's good. Then next we have Hero from Archive of the Forgotten, and Hero is just the most precious like being, but he's also he's kind of a bit insufferable, but he's the kind of like lovable insufferable, and I love him and his journey in this book. So he's kind of this like book character who's sort of come to life, and in Archive of the Forgotten he's kind of discovering what it kind of means to almost have a soul and like become his own person, rather than just this like character. He's sort of becoming himself, but he kind of struggles with that, and he feels like, is he a real person, is he, and it's just so good. And there were so many moments which made me cry, like Hero, and just his relationship with the other characters. So Rami, who's like this stoic angel, and Hero kind of like teases him, but also like relies on him as like emotional kind of support. And Claire, and like Hero and Claire have an interesting kind of relationship, and Brevity, and like, oh, Hero is like assistant apprentice to Brevity, and yeah, so he's just such an interesting character, and he's so like such a joy to read about, and like his kind of journey, I guess. So yeah, this video is getting a bit long. And then finally we have Dani from Dani Brown, and I feel like Dani is just like she's just almost like me. I don't know, I feel like just the kind of things she struggles with, and like the kind of anxiety, but she kind of has, she doesn't quite have like the social anxiety type in a typical way, because like she doesn't have any problem with like kind of at work and like presenting things and stuff like that. Like I never have a problem with that. It's just more the kind of, you find it quite draining to be like around other people, but also she's kind of extroverted in a way, but also sort of you need that time like for yourself, and also the kind of pressure you put on yourself to like achieve and like study and stuff. And I just found that really relatable, and just her kind of, just everything about her, like I just love her. She's such an interesting and it's kind of strong character, and her like relationship with Zafir obviously I love, but also her relationship with her sisters and her relationship with kind of other characters in the book. Like I think she has like a best friend and I love their dynamic. Like at the start when they're like conducting this ritual and then they like kick Zafir out. Oh, it's so precious, and I just love her. Just like everything about her is just amazing. So yeah, so that's that one. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Definitely comment down below and let me know who your favourite character of 2020, or just your favourite character in general, was. And if you enjoyed the video, please give it a like and consider subscribing if you haven't already. And I hope you're all having a great day, and I will see you next time.